I think like most people just have really bizarre stories of how we got into this business. And I studied visual arts and chemistry, and then ended up following a girl out to LA and started working on the first record of my first project while living in Hollywood and working in this pharmaceutical company to kind of pay the bills. And you know, got about halfway through making that record and had no, you know, I'm like, oh, maybe my friends will sort of like this, maybe. And then just got really, had this kind of major existential crisis while living here, and like, I can't really see myself in this pharmaceutical company forever. So so I ended up hiking the Appalachian Trail in 2001 from Maine.
Book that tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to book. You're playing a lot of roadhouses.
Well, no, I did a death march through Joshua Tree to sort of prepare myself for it. But yeah, so I walked from Maine to Georgia in 2001. And that kind of really was the reset button that I needed to kind of focus on my creative work from there. So I left the idea of like having money behind and just looked for like cheap basements to work in. And so I ended up finishing that first record, and through a friend got the record released through a small German label called Tom Lab, who was also just starting out. And so I remember getting this email from Tom one day while like coming back from a day hike. He said, oops, you're famous. And I checked my email, and Pitchfork had given our first record like a 9.1, which is like absurd.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's Pitchfork? So it's taken me like up until now to really figure out what that sort of meant. Mm-hmm. And so then I moved back to the Northeast and found a cheap apartment and worked in a cafe for a while and just kept making records. And it didn't even occur to me that touring was a possibility until after we had made our third record. And Tom Windish of the Windish Agency actually rented a car and drove to my apartment and sat us down at our kitchen table, and he said, you guys have to tour. You have to tour. I'm like, I can't even play my instruments. Like I fire rubber bands at my guitars. Like that's what I do. And he's like, just trust me, guys. You know, people will come to the shows. And then he gave us a sense for like what we could actually make by going on tour. And we're like, really? And we just didn't believe him. And so he booked our first tour, and you know, it just kind of sold out across.
Wow.
But this is after releasing 3 records and having no idea how many people were actually listening, because we were getting no record royalties. And so we had no sense that people were actually listening.
So that sounds like a key point. You were getting no record royalties.
Yeah,
so you weren't
so
making
like,
any money off the music until the tour,
exactly.
really, right?
Yeah, and so then at that point it became a livelihood, and everything changed.